there, it's Mare. I have a journal completed, and this is the flip through of that journal. It is approximately 8.5 by 6, 76 pages, give or take, front to back. I've used some vintage lace, some antique lace, some newer laces. I've also used lots of original ephemera in this, as well as some handmade ephemera. I'm going to get through it as fast as I can. The quicker, the shorter the video, the better on my internet. So here is the front, and it is a ball scene here, and antique lace here, and some newer lace here, some vintage doily. And I've used some white gesso on these flowers here to give it like a little plaster look. It is a curved spine that I've reinforced with Tyvek. Made this flower dangle and did the same technique on that. Also added all these beads here on the spine, and I just love the way that it turned out. So feminine, and all the same color tones, creams and black and browns. And this is some rag paper that I've used on the back. And I just love the way that it turned out. So let me show you the insides. I have just doubled up some muslin for the tie. And I'm not going to pick out every single piece of ephemera, but I will show you some of the antique ephemera that I've included. Here's some ball invitations, another scene here, another ball scene here, some more of those laces, and a charm here. I love this image, and I've used some shimmer on this. There's just little bits of bling here and there, nothing too overwhelming. I've added some very thin tissue paper on that. Altered this paper clip with a vintage button and vintage laces. And that's the other side of it. It is a pocket. It has some original ephemera. I've got just some little snippets. That's just from a book page. It is a two-sided pocket, and then a vintage postcard from 1910. And I'm going to put that on after. Little tuck here with some embossed tags that I created. A embossed tag with some different inks and some fabric on the back. Coffee dyed papers. And it is very chunky, just like all my journals. An original receipt from 1902. It's very crumbly. Whoever gets this probably should back it on something. I just added this applique on this vintage doily here. Original photograph. Look at those lovely ladies. Here's a tuck spot I made with a vintage receipt from the late 1800s. It's just a piece of one. And I did use some, this is from a vintage ledger, vintage book. Used some pages from that to create a writing area. Page out of a Peterson book that I have, and it's from 1883. There's a frame that I've collaged, and you can put your own picture in there. This flips out this way with some collaging, gesso, some doily here, and this very soft sari ribbon that is tied on this image here. You can just open that up, some room for journaling, and this beautiful, here we go, beautiful card. And this is an altered paper clip here, and it has a little French script and a little piece of bling there. I've just used this flip up as a narrow flip up. It can be undone. You can tuck stuff in there, in the side if you like. Here's some old candle wicking that I made a pocket out of. That's a vintage postcard here. Copy of a vintage cabinet card that I have here. That's that image. And this I backed with a vintage picture from a book, and I've heavily gessoed it, but it just looks so grand in the background. But it would look really pretty with some black script writing on it. Here's just a vintage photograph that I've made a copy of. Gesso, a lot of collaging and gesso in it, which I'm sure you'll see. Another little altered paper clip with some lace. Here's some charms here that I've used some alcohol inks on. And this is an embossed piece that I've added layered on here. There's a little shimmer on the flowers. very thin piece of tissue from a book, some more collaging in gesso, beautiful ball scene here. And we got the same on the other side. Little tuck spot. This is a postcard from 1888. This is from a book page I have, and I have just put a little bit of space in there. Added some vintage music paper and some decoupage and put a little bit of crystal on that. And here is just a flip. It looks like a pocket, but you can do some writing behind here. And I hope I'm totally in frame. Hopefully I am. And here's some vintage checks with this stubs. And just for instance, this one is from 1909. It is original, and the stub goes along with it. There's 3 different pieces there, and just a piece of ephemera here. Some vintage laces. A little snippet here. This is a piece from a vintage book. Did some more collaging in gesso. An original picture of this lovely lady and a vintage postcard and an altered playing card in there within this little lace pocket. And here's just a really pretty wedding scene, and the embossed piece that I've added here really matches to me the wallpaper in that. This is a piece from a Lutheran minister from the 1800s. It came with a vintage ledger that I purchased of the same. And this is an envelope, coffee dyed envelope. It has a couple pieces of ephemera in it. This is inspired by Ruby and Pearl XO, and an altered domino that I have made, and a little bit of sparkle on there, gold on the sides and on the back from a leafing pen. Made a pocket here with some stenciling, with some embossing paste here, and just a few little pieces of ephemera in there. Made a pocket, and it is fabric lined, and I just love the way it feels and sounds when you're taking things in and out. These envelopes are just very old envelopes, and I have put a little something in them. Made this tuck with another piece of embossed and inked paper. It says formal invitations on there on this embossed piece. This is from a vintage etiquette book, and a picture there. And this is a vintage ledger behind here with vintage lace. Made a pocket with a vintage postcard. Little piece of ephemera, altered hair clip there. Lovely paper that I have, that I've dyed. It's a pink paper, and it looks just like avocado dyed, that color. And here is a postcard, a Jane Austen postcard, and the other side of that clip, and a piece of ephemera there. This is a empty cover from a folded letter, and this is from the 1800s. 1836, I think it says. Piece of jewelry as a dangle here and here. It just matched perfectly. And this is the page that I shared with Instagram. This is from a vintage French book, and I've made this jumbo journaling card. Did some decoupage on here, lots of layers, and I've backed it with fabric and some gesso on that as well. Did some stenciling there. And here is oh, my little paper clip. This is just a Tim Holtz frame that I've put this little picture on of this lady that is at her writing desk, and this is an authentic folded letter. And I believe it's French, and the paper is just amazing. And I think it says 1826. 1836. Isn't that beautiful? So I'm going to be careful with that and put that back here. You can even see where they had the wax seal on it. And that sits behind here. That flips over for some writing area. There's some stenciling there and a tag that I've embossed and inked, and it have lined it with some fabric. Okay. Pocket here that I've created, a little envelope with a little card inside. Just a piece of ephemera here. Made this card here. Just some different vintage pages and tucks here. Did some sewing, little card here, a little scrap from, this is 1879 and 1878. Here's a little tuck, and this is a full deed from the 1800s. And look at the beautiful writing. I mean, it's all handwritten on the bottom, and it folds both ways. These deeds are very popular. I know a lot of people reproduce this kind of thing in their journals. Deeds are very, very in right now, and I just loved including that. I think it went well. And here's some more writing space. Whoop. Okay, the deed, this one. Okay, this flips up here with some writing space area. This is from that actual ledger that I have from the Lutheran minister from the 1800s, and there's different dates, 82, 83, 84, 1884. I supported it at the fold. Here's a vintage receipt from 1885, more collaging. This opens up. I've stiffened this fabric that has a French font on it. I have secured different pieces with some safety pins. This one I got from one of Patty Lang's sales. And that opens up, and there's a pad of paper there. I will put that back up later. A tuck with a little piece of ephemera, collaging again, gesso, and gesso is on the inside of this fabric as well for writing. And a little scrap from a vintage tablecloth. The other part of the ledger, I decoupaged this envelope and put this piece here is from 1907. That little piece of black fabric was on that when I received it. I put some book page behind it and gessoed it, so if the person who got this wanted to write on it, they could. I just secured a little vintage early 1900s postcard, and it's nicely embossed, and just it made this little flip from a vintage stitched embroidered, there we go, embroidered napkin. And here's a little pocket for ballroom dances, and another of those beautiful photographs that I have copied. Again, little bits of gesso and collaging everywhere. Vintage book page that I've just made into this tuck. Opens at the side. 2 authentic Victorian calling cards. A very, very sturdy piece of ephemera there with some writing room, and I love that picture. And this is and I had it nicely tied, but I've tried to do this video a couple times. But you just open it up, and it's just a blank journal at the bottom. It doesn't have very many pages, but I just love the way that it looked. And then you just tie this up and put a bow on it. And the back pocket is just from a vintage piece of doily that I had. And this is an original cabinet card. And it's very grungy all over naturally. Not from me. And there's the show part of the layers. So that's it, guys. That is my journal, my recent journal. And you can check availability in my Etsy shop. I will leave that link in the description box below. If you haven't done so already, please give me a thumbs up, leave a comment, subscribe if you haven't done so, and hit that notification bell to be updated on any new videos. Have a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Lots more videos to come. Thanks. Bye.